Hello and welcome. I am Dr. Anil Joshi. Welcome you to my series that is Learn Radiology with Dr. Anil Joshi. Today's topic is on mammography, that is the mammographic disease pattern. This is covered in multiple sections. In that we are going to see broadly how the disease pattern appears. Now to start with is a disclaimer. Most of the topic, most of the illustrations, most of the slides, most of the cases are from our own. Certain material has come from our department, that is our routine educational purposes, and it is used here, and certain has come as a download which is royalty free. Today's lecture topic is the mammographic patterns and appearances of invasive duct carcinoma. The first characteristic is the mass. Now what is it? Let us have first the general consideration of the malignancy. Now, cancer originates from a milk duct and invade the fibrous or the fatty tissues outside the duct. Infiltrating duct carcinoma is the most common form of breast cancer, representing 80% of all the breast cancer diagnosed. Now, dense breast can limit the sensitivity, detectability, and delineation of the disease, extend by obscuring the borders since it is obscured by the dense overlying tissues. So it's really a challenging problem for the radiologist to find out a mass within all these things. Now in such case finding mass density, calcification, skin thickening, nipple retraction, and architectural distortion should be taken as the supportive evidences. You may sometimes get outline of mass. The other things like distortion of the breast, enlargement of it, distortion of the nipple, discharges coming from the nipple, then skin thickening, all these things can clinically as well be judged. So a mammography technician should be aware of all these things and make a proper note of it. Of course, it is given by the clinician also. This idea is given by clinician also. The contrast enhanced breast magnetic resonance imaging complementary mammographic staging means it is a prime role when a malignancy is disputed or if malignancy cannot be diagnosed properly. However, the first line of diagnosis is the preventive mammography is the first, that is by the mass mammography, and second is the when a mass become palpable, then it becomes a diagnostic mammography. In that, sometimes we will not arrive at a single diagnosis. Malignancy cannot be ruled out. A sonography is an excellent supportive investigation, and with most of the time these two things can come to a reasonably good conclusion. However, therefore MRI is reserved as the last alternative if these things cannot work out and there is a mass but we cannot come to a diagnosis. Now what are the mass criteria on mammography? Now first is the shape. The benign lesions are round, oval or light centered, malignant are stellar. Then margins are circumscribed in benign, spiculated, microlobulated, indistinct obscures are seen in malignancy. Mass density is low or fat containing in benign while higher and dense in malignancy. Then what? Calcifications in benign, annular, regular, clear centered as eggshell, lucent centered, coarse or popcorn like, large rod like skin or dermal or vascular one. The size is uniform, distribution is any, and the density is sparse. All these things are extensively covered in the series of mammography, ebook of mammography, which contains each and every aspect of this in extreme detail with multiple illustrations and in extensive, clearly delineating, differentiating and giving a differential diagnosis in all these things. Now in malignant, the size is heterogeneous, there is a distortion, clusters are seen, then there is segmentation and the density is usually high. Now here we are seeing the masses. Malignant mass, note the characteristic, it is irregular, the outlines are distorted, then the shape of it is not a circular one, it is irregular. Now, if you go into detail of the sonography, it will give you still more further details as to this is a malignant lesion, and a biopsy was performed after this mammography, and it has turned out to be a positive. So what we noted here is hypoechoic mass with breaking of the cortex, mass is deeper than wide, microlobulations, posterior acoustic shadows, punctate calcification, and duct extension. All these things are going into the favor of malignancy from investigation point of view, and ultimately the biopsy proved it as the invasive duct carcinoma. Now these are a few more examples you are seeing here, very classical. They are all proved cases and they are very classical. Then irregular, hypoechoic, breaking of the cortex, mass is deeper than wider, microlobulation, posterior acoustic shadowing, punctate calcification, and duct extension as the characteristic of the malignancy. Here also we are seeing multiple masses. Now here what we know is well circumscribed hyperdense mass without surrounding infiltration or calcification, indicating it's a benign mass. We are showing you first the malignant masses, telling you the characteristic of it, and now you see the benign. It is homogeneous, there is no breaking of cortex, well defined, and it is a benign and proved to be fibroadenoma on further studies. Now let us come to the mass calcification. When we are considering malignant calcification, it is inevitable that we should know the benign calcification also, because as simple thumb rule, whatever is not benign is malignant, or if something is not characteristic of benign, then we think more of a calcification. Now let us come to the different calcification. Now the ductal carcinomas in situ represents 25 to 30% of all the reported breast cancers. Approximately 90% of them are diagnosed because of mammographically detectable microcalcification. Hence, a big role for the radiographers, the radiologists, and a team of them along with histopathologists who can prove that it is a malignancy. So, detection of malignancy first started with a good technique of taking mammogram, second with detection of calcification by radiologist, and third ultimately by a pathologist to prove it. Now, what is the diagnostic approach? Was the morphology, distribution, and change over the time are the morphological changes. Now let us come to benign calcification. What are the benign calcification? They can be skin calcification. Tattoos are most notorious. Now this is picked by the radiographer. So there is tattoo sign, the video will be there, then the vascular calcification, coarse or popcorn-like calcification, large rod-like plasma cell mastitis, the round and punctate calcification, lucent, centered, and eggshell or rim calcification. Let us see what are the benign calcification. What calcifications are called as benign calcifications? Now one is the skin calcification, that is the tattoo sign. Tattoo are usually picked up by the technicians. So the technician where taking the mammographies can make out there are tattoos, they make a mention of it, and it has got a very characteristic tattoo signs. Then there can be vascular calcification, coarse or popcorn-like calcification, large rod-like plasma cell mastitis, round and punctate calcification, lucent and centered calcification, eggshell or rim calcification. Please note, all these are benign calcification. Why we should know benign is anything in that, in addition to that, should be picked up. Now come to the tattoo sign. That tattoo sign skin calcification may simulate parenchymal breast calcification and may look like malignant type of calcification. Now when you are looking at a oblique or craniocaudal view, notice that the calcification look exactly the same in configuration, and this is called a tattoo sign. They take shape of a tattoo that is drawn. So it will show you. Now let us come to second, that is the vascular calcification. These are linear or form parallel tracts that are usually clearly associated with blood vessels, vascular calcification, and are noted in women. The coarse or popcorn calcifications are very characteristic. These classic large popcorn-like calcifications are produced by involving fibroadenomas. These calcifications usually do not cause a diagnostic problem. When the calcification in an fibroadenoma are small and numerous. They may resemble a malignancy, a type of calcification, and need a biopsy. So whenever any suspicion is there, if characteristic calcifications are not like popcorn or benign, of course it's one of a reason for a biopsy. Now large rod-like or plasma cell mastitis. These are formed within ectatic ducts and are benign calcification. They form continuous rod that may occasionally be branching. They are different from malignant. The type are fine branching calcification because they are usually less than 1 millimeter in diameter. They are more than 1 millimeter in diameter. They may have lucent centers if the calcium is in the walls of the duct. These calcifications follow a duct distribution radiating towards nipple and are usually bilateral. These secretory calcifications are most often seen in women older than 60 years. Sometimes it is difficult to differentiate these from a linear calcification as seen in DICs. Now, round and punctate calcifications. Round calcifications are 0.5 to 1 millimeter in size and frequently form in the acina of the terminal duct lobular units. When smaller than 0.5 mm, the term punctate is used. The round and punctate calcification can be seen in fibrocystic changes or adenosis, skin calcification, skin talc, and rarely in DCIS. Suspected DCIS when calcifications are small, that is punctate, and show some heterogeneity, especially when in clusters, linear or segmental distribution. Then the round or punctate calcification are classified as Biuret 2 when the scattered round calcifications are there, then Biuret 3 or 4 when in isolation clusters or if or ipsilateral to a cancer. This is the Biuret classification of the calcification. Now, what are the lucent centered? These are round or oval calcification that ranges from under 1 millimeter to over a centimeter. They are the result of fat necrosis, calcified debris in ducts, and occasionally fibrosarcomas. Then are the eggshell or rim calcifications. These are very thin benign calcification that appear as calcium is deposited in the surface of the sphere. These deposits are usually under 1 millimeter in thickness, and when viewed on the edge, although fat necrosis can produce these thin deposits, calcifications in the wall of a cyst are the most common rim calcification. The milk of calcium is extremely rare. These are benign sediments of the calcifications in the micro or macro cyst. On craniocaudal view, they appear as fuzzy, round or amorphous. Consider magnification spot film with horizontal beam when you think of the possibility of milk of calcium, because on a 90-degree lateral view they may appear as semicircular, crescent shape or teacup shape. Now, suture calcifications. Suture, they represent calcium deposit on the suture material, so obviously the history and the findings will be supportive of it. No point in finding a differential, you can easily get them. They are typically linear or tubular in appearance and knots are sometimes visible. So very characteristic. Then dystrophic calcifications. These are coarse, irregular, lava-shaped calcification larger than 0.5 mm and often have a lucent center seen in the irradiated breast or following trauma. So history of radiation will be there, history of operation will be there, history of biopsy will be there, is a known case, and there was 3 to 5 years after treatment, about 30% of the women, and these calcifications are also described as fat necrosis. It is important to differentiate them from a recurrent malignancy. All these things we are seeing a benign calcification. Now what is a calcified fibroadenoma? Here you are seeing, see the calcification, they are very, very typical, and usually they occur around menopause. So as the fibroadenoma advances after the menopause, usually they calcify. So note well circumscribed hyperechoic tissues and wider than depth thin echogenic pseudocapsule and coarse calcification. These are the multiple different cases where you can see the calcifications and fibroadenomas and how the calcification occurs in them. Please note, they all are different cases. These are different cases. These are the set of different patients. Now we'll find a common finding is there are well circumscribed hyperechoic tissues wider than depth, thin echogenic pseudocapsules with coarse calcification. The point here are the coarse calcification that occurs in a fibroadenoma. And now, how to approach mammographic disease pattern, that is mass calcification when it is a malignant. Now we have seen a benign, what is not benign is malignant, but let us see whether malignancy has got any specific pattern. Diffuse or discrete distribution is typically seen in benign entities, what we have seen just now. Even when a cluster of calcifications are scattered throughout the breast, these are benign. Regional distribution according to the Baierides. The atlas would favor a non-ductal distribution or a benignity. Now, while a segmental distribution would favor a ductal distribution, that is a malignancy. The differentiation between regional and segmental is problematic since on mammogram or MRI, the boundaries of a segment or a lobe are not clear. Now, cluster calcifications are both seen in benign and malignant diseases and are of intermediate concern. When clusters are scattered throughout the breast, this favors a benign entity. A single cluster of calcification favor malignant entity. A linear distribution is typically seen when the CIS fills the entire duct and its branches with the calcification. Now, malignant calcification. These are small and discrete. Here you can see the calcifications. Now note hypoechoic mass with breaking of cortex, typical signs of malignancy, and mass is deeper than wider, micro calcifications, then posterior enhancement, punctate calcification, and a duct exchange. These all are typically favoring a malignant pathology. Now we'll see few more cases. Cases are different, but you will find same finding. The outline, breaking of cortex, calcification, shape of the mass. Now, these are the axillary nodes. This patient also had axillary nodes and a breast lesion. So combination of breast lesion and axillary nodes. Now then we come to a lymph nodes. Lymph nodes also are important as a supportive evidences. Now axillary nodes are arranged in 5 groups which lie in the axillary fat. One is pectoral, that is anterior group, which lies on the pectoralis major along lateral thoracic vessel. Then the subcapsular, that is the posterior group, which lies on the posterior wall of the axilla on the lower border of subscapularis along the subscapular vessels. The third is the brachial, that is lateral group, lies on lateral wall of the axilla along the axillary vessels. And fourth are the central group, lies in the base of the axilla. Now fifth are the apical group, lies at the apex of the axilla. Now these are the groups. Following is a lymph node. It shows you how it functions. how it receives, how it's relieves. Now you can see the group of the lymph nodes diagrammatically representing the groups which we had discussed just now. Now come to anterior pectoral location. They are located inferior border of pectoralis minor near the lateral thoracic wall. They receive lymph from the skin and the muscles of the posterior and inferior body. Then they drains into the central and apical node. Now come to the central lobe. The location is fat of the axilla. They receive the above mentioned lateral and anterior posterior lymph groups. Then they drains into the apical nodes. The apical lymph nodes are the second group. They are located posterior and superior to pectoralis major towards the axillary line. They receive lymph from the cephalic veins. Upper peripheral breast are above the mentioned nodes and drains into the subclavian trunk. May drain into the jugulo-subclavian venous trunk, subclavian vein, jugular lymphatic trunk, or right lymphatic duct, left into thoracic duct, and inferior deep cervical nodes. Now lymph nodes. Coming to lymph node pathology as it appears in the breast imaging. There are several indications for biopsy axillary nodes when the following features are present: loss of disruption of the central fatty hilum, loss of the pericapsular fat line, then parenchymal cortical thickness is greater than 2.5 millimeter, presence of abnormal color flow, and last is the irregular outer margins. Then first come to size of the lymph node. The rule of thumb: axillary and cervical nodes more than 1 centimeter are always think of malignancy. Inguinal 1.5, it is just an incidental supportive information which you may need somewhere else. Then epitrochlear, okay, these are all you can go through because this is a general thumb rule. We have to mention about all nodes which to be valued and what should be their maximum size. Now here there are features. Now size in malignant is more than 2 centimeter, benign less than 2 centimeter. Consistency hard in malignancy, firm to rubbery, and soft or fluctuating in benign. Duration in malignancy it is more than 2 weeks, in benign less than 2 weeks. Mobility is fixed. Mobile, benign nodes are mobile, but all mobile nodes are not necessarily benign. All remaining characters has to be checked. Now surrounding attached, there is fixation to the surrounding in malignancy. The benign nodes will be moving, and location is supraclavicular, epitrochlear. These are the general consideration which you are talking of the lymph node masses in addition to that of the axilla, and that causing the because of the breast pathologies. So overall, all in that region groups are described here. Now what are the changes in lymph node that occurs is, earlier there are no changes in the size of a lymph node. Then what happens is thickness is the first affected. It become higher than 6 mm. The capsule also become thicker. That is the first stage. Now what happens in second stage? Although the entire lymph node become enlarged, the capsule is retained. Now what happens next is a metastatic focus occupies almost entire lymph node. A border is clearly observed, that is 10 to 20 millimeter in thickness, and can be identified even by the CT scan. And what is the last stage? The metastatic focus extends beyond the capsule of the lymph node into the surrounding tissues. The border become poorly demarcated. So that is the 100%, it is the malignant node. Now we are seeing here illustrations. There are benign nodes. You are seeing longitudinal oval shape with low echogenicity with smooth borders and hyperechoic hilum. So these characteristics are from the ultrasound which were done along with the mammography here. But what we get here are the multiple lymph node in axilla which were of the benign nature. Then consider high possibility of malignancy when lymph nodes show microcalcification, partially cystic appearance, peripheral diffuse increased vascularity, hyperechoic, thyroid like lymph nodes, this thing has to be kept in mind. Then abnormality of lymph nodes suggesting of malignancy further, absence of hilum, increase focal cortical thickness more than 3 mm with color Doppler US that shows hyperemic blood flow in the hilum and cortex of the abnormality, that is a non-hilar cortical blood flow. Now look at the lymph node that suggests malignancy, massive enlargement, loss of hilum, breaking of cortex, they all indicate malignancy. Then advantage of sonography over mammography as far as lymph node is concerned. For lymph node, whether benign or malignant, ultrasound Doppler scores over the mammography. Now because it can identify the changes of the internal structures and the vascularity in the lymph node. Just now we are seeing what are the changes that takes place once the lymph node is involved by benign process where it is arrested, or further changes when the malignancy occurs. Already we have seen that slide. In malignancy there will be a display of clusters of microcalcification with necrosis within a lymph node, and color Doppler demonstrate a increased vascularity which is non-specific since it will be seen even in inflammation. Now all circumstantial evidences has to be taken care. Single criteria will not be sufficient to say a benign or a malignant differentiation. Then ultrasound additionally provides a useful tool to guide a biopsy of the lymph node. From where to take biopsy, number one, which node to take, that all will be shown better by the ultrasound. Now normal lymph nodes are discrete, non-tender and mobile without fixation to the underlying skin. Significant enlargement more than 1 cm in cervical and axillary and 1.5 cm in inguinal. Here again I am telling you we are considering overall all the lymph nodes because the criteria of enlargement differs from the group. Now here we are seeing supraclavicular, infraclavicular, lateral axillary group, central group, subcapsular group and pectoral group, because these lymph nodes are common not only to breast but also for the other tissues. So that's why we should know about all differentiation. Now normal cervical node appear on sonography as somewhat flattened, cigar shaped, hypoechoic structure with varying amount of hilar fat. Now these are the normal lymph nodes which we are seeing. Cervical enlarged but not suggestive of malignancy. Now again benign nodes, you are seeing here 100% benign, perfect benign nodes, how it looks. Enlargement less than 2 cm, well preserved fatty hilum, cortical outline, everything is a perfectly normal lymph node. Now malignant node, enlargement more than 2 cm, loss of fatty hilum, distorted outline with subtle breaking of the outline. See, all things are here well shown. Now what criteria we have applied in all these films? A lymph node measuring more than 10 mm size in short axis is malignant. Okay, lymph node with ratio of 3.5 considered relatively a benign. The lymph node with length LS ratio metastatic. Now here we are seeing breast malignancy films. Asymmetrical mass, speckle calcification, distorted architecture, low echogenicity and finding suggestive of malignancy. Now let us come to the retracted nipple. Nipple retraction has got multiple causes. Now it can have a retroareolar abnormality or not. So that needs to be seen. Now we will come to the summary. It is extremely important to know the characteristic of a mass. A mass characteristics, calcification and associated findings like changes in the skin, nipple, distortion of the shape are important findings in detection of breast cancer for finding indication for biopsy in otherwise thought to be benign lesion. Follow-up and shifting grading of Barrett classification are some of the basic aims of this study. Let us see one by after another whether it is indication for biopsy. Number one, whether on Biard scale it changes. It changes from 3 to 4 or 4 to 5. Number two, whether it gives you idea whether to go for a biopsy or not. All these things needs to be considered by the mass characteristics and the supportive findings. The changes in nipple, distortion of shape, axillary or intramammary nodes, presence of calcification of the mass or mass effect has also needs to be seen. Its role is important. Mammography role is important in reduction of breast cancer mortality through screening mammography programs. What you do is you detect the malignancy in early stage, and by detecting in early stage, the further progress of the disease can be predicted and a proper steps of curative or operative with further management can be taken. It is also important that when we are doing all these things, its genetic incidence should be considered. That gives you idea whether the masses are borderline. In that case, you take into consideration this factor also. Now with this we are coming to a conclusion of the malignant section. We summarize all the findings. With that, I am sure you will analyze the cases which will be coming to you. You will apply the knowledge not only given in this lecture. This lecture can give you few ideas, it can give you certain ideas, but it is not a complete or comprehensive training as far as breast cancer is concerned. You will have to apply your own mind, you will have to have your own interpretation tactics, you will have to have your own analytic ideas of brain to know whether any mass is a malignant or not. It is extremely important when we are taking a program of totally eradicating breast cancer. Now with this, I thank you for giving me your valuable time. Please note, radiology is not a race but it's a process, and be a part of it and enjoy the feast of knowledge. I am Dr. Anil Joshi logging off till we meet again. Do your best, give your best to the patients, give them the best diagnosis, try to analyze them as early as possible, give them the early diagnosis and try to help the program that is trying to eradicate breast cancer from the world. Thank you. Take care.